I would walk through fire for my team, and I think that anyone that I work with is considered my team. We all have to work very closely together. I know some people may be like, "What?" hearing me say that.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Screens, IT at ND, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the IT solutions consultants at the University of Notre Dame.
Here we explore the challenges they face, the innovative solutions they provide, and the tips and tricks that can help you make the most out of your technology. I could use some of those tips today. I'm Krista, Manager of IT Marketing and Communications in the OIT.
And I'm Scooter, Director of Information Technology for the College of Arts and Letters. We're thrilled to have you with us today. Our guest today is Jennifer Parker, Senior CWP Specialist, working in OIT's Client Experience Group. Hi, Jen. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Before we start, could you tell us a little about your current role and the journey that brought you here? How long have you been with the university? How and when did you move into your current role, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. So I've been with the university for about 2.5 years or going on 2.5 years. This is the only role that I have had since I've been here. And what led me here was in other businesses and different roles that I had. I always kind of took on the IT role by default, I guess. We didn't really have anybody else for those types of roles. And um, so I wore many hats and really got involved with all of the IT aspects of running a business and how to improve services. And then COVID came along and I was left to work remotely for some other health and wellness type businesses that were countrywide servicing their software and different IT aspects, again, running their businesses. So.
Excellent. Well, we're glad that it brought you this way. So again, kind of, starting at the top, for those who may not already know, what is the Campus Workstation Program?
The Campus Workstation Program is a centrally funded program that was created, well, initially back in like 1995. There was an amount of money from the centralized MUR fund that was allocated to help with providing. So, MUR is maintenance. Gosh, why can I never remember this? Maintenance.
Update and repair?
Thank you. Yes, thank
Yep.
you. Update and repair. So, that has to do they wanted to be able to provide employees who had a need for a primary machine or primary laptop based on their role. They wanted to be able to provide those for people across the university. And so there was a committee, I believe, put together to determine what those eligibility requirements would look like and how much of an allocation could be utilized per person in order to provide that service.
And I'm imagining that part of the rationale for doing something like this is that we know if the people are working on relatively new machines, that not only are they going to be more secure when we look at it from an IT perspective, but they're also going to be more productive because they're not fighting old equipment. Is that part of the mix?
Absolutely. So it's evolved a lot. If you can imagine where technology was 25 years ago versus where it sits today, there has been a lot of advancements, and that's one of the benefits of having the centralized program currently is being able to manage the machines, make sure that we're keeping them our users safe and the university safe. To make sure that everyone has what they need for productivity, also taking the burden of the expense off of the specific departments across the university, helping end users manage updates. We're able to, if their machine is managed, we're able to push those updates out collectively to everyone. So there's a lot less issues that they can run into.
Excellent. And so you talked about there being certain eligibility requirements. Who is eligible and who's conversely who's not eligible for a CWP computer?
Yes. So I can explain this. It's going to sound like a foreign language probably, um, but overall, it's typically full-time, um, employees, faculty and staff that, are permanent in their position, and they base a lot of the eligibility information from the Equal Employment Opportunity, um, the government website, and how those what do they call them? Like working codes, class codes are, categorized. So they're all broken out. I have all of this outlined in an article if anyone is interested. But basically, if their EEO skill code is less than or 60 or less, and they're usually by 10, so 60, 50, 40, 30, 20 and 10, which we don't see a lot of that, but that's how we are determining eligibility. And that is something that we're looking at because as you can imagine, 25 years ago, even 30 years ago, anyone who had an EEO skill code of 70, which is actually maintenance, didn't really have a need for a primary computer. But look how times have changed, and there is definitely a need for that, even just for communication purposes amongst people at the university. So we're looking to reevaluate, but with adding more eligible positions, that's going to impact the overall budget. And so we don't want to take anything away from anyone else. So as you can see, it's a fine dance of trying to figure out the best option.
Right. And when you talk about those skill codes, if I remember correctly, some of those that you're saying are eligible, they have descriptions like professional administrative positions, executive positions,
Yes.
faculty, things of that nature.
Yes.
We all know how government websites work and the elaborate detail they go into. But
Mhm.
I think at some point we would have said that these were knowledge workers as opposed to maybe manual workers or something. Again,
Yeah.
using very outdated terminology for that. That's probably what that was based on. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, we do know that you're talking about the maintenance folks in particular. We do know that a lot of them are now carrying tablets to do their work.
Yeah.
Everything is much more connected than it used to be, and so there are very few jobs that really aren't touched by technology pretty deeply. So yeah, I'm glad that you're reconsidering some of those.
Definitely.
So knowing that there are some folks that are eligible and some that aren't, I mean, um, can you give us an estimate of like what percentage of people on campus are eligible for a CWP machine?
Well, I can't give you I don't know how many people are out there, how many positions that are not eligible, so, like, overall, but I can tell you that the total eligible and open positions that we have presently, we're nearing, 5,000, so, um, that's a big chunk of our faculty and staff.
Absolutely. So, and how often is a computer refreshed? How often does somebody who's eligible get a new machine?
Our refresh cycle is every 4 years, so all CWP machines are required to carry a 4-year warranty on them, and we do allow, like, a 90-day grace period for refreshing, so sometimes, um, someone's machine I mean, these entire life cycle of a machine should ultimately last like 6 years, but we know that that doesn't always happen. And at times, if they just can't quite make it to that finish line, we do allow for that 90-day grace period, but it's typically pretty dead set on that 4-year period.
Excellent. And so, what happens to those computers when they're retired? I mean, yeah, like you say, at 4 years, its life isn't necessarily used up. But what do we do with them when they're done with being a CWP machine?
So previously, we have been sending them off to surplus. We're actually currently looking at reevaluating how we handle all of that. Um, As you mentioned, we are getting a lot of machines back that aren't end of life cycle. Meanwhile, we have a lot of areas across campus who are utilizing equipment for their department, not CWP related, but the machines that they have are 8 to 10 years old. So we're really looking to create a process that will bring all of those older machines centrally to either the service desk or CWP, which is one in of itself. to create an evaluation process and determine if that machine is a machine that we can use to replace older equipment and or add to the centralized loaner pool, and or if the machine just doesn't make the cut, then we'll send those off to surplus. But once a machine is moved to surplus, that machine will no longer be able to come back to campus. And so again, that has a lot to do with setting expectations and communications with our different partner areas.
So, describe your team structure, especially regarding CWP's recent assimilation into the service desk.
Yes. So that was a strategic initiative that we worked on once the help desk and help desk dispatch merged. We were really looking to create, I mean, we do work in client experience. We were really working to create the best opportunity and experience for all of our end users across campus. And originally, we had some help behind the scenes, but ultimately, the CWP specialist is the single point of contact for CWP. Um, and that really does a disservice for our partners across campus because it doesn't allow, well, for me to spend time with them and to understand their needs and to figure out the best plan of action forward to and create that better experience overall. um so we were just talking about combining teams. I can't believe that we've actually managed to do that and we're at this point now. So the service desk handles once we approve an order or receive an order and approve it, once we get the equipment, whether it's being shipped directly from our strategic partner or it's inventory that we have on hand, the service desk collaboratively works in the imaging center to image the machine, and then contact either their IT support rep or the end user once the machine is successfully built, um, and schedule a time for pickup and or the end user to come into the imaging center or the service desk area for install. And so what that does is just keeps everything. It eliminates a bottleneck, um, and hopefully provides a speedier response time. um, Plus, if there are questions or anyone has any other additional needs, having a whole team that has the knowledge and is aware of the goal and what we're working towards, has answers to all their questions, it was just able to provide an overall better client experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, then what how many people are actually doing CWP work?
So we have the entire service desk that utilizes and provides this assistance. So we've got my CWP team leads. I have Pam Miller and Scott Lamb, who have been hugely imperative to the success of making this work. And then we have the FTEs in the service desk. So probably plus Dave, who, it runs the imaging center. I mean, 10 to 15 people.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: I'm going to ask this a little bit differently than how we usually mention it, but what is your typical day like, and what would be the typical day for like someone in the service desk who's also supporting CWP work?
Okay, so my typical day typically starts with I feel like I'm doing communications all day, which
Right.
is fine. I don't mind. Like currently, right now, I have at least 10 Google Chats that I haven't opened yet. But my typical day starts with following up on things maybe that weren't finished up the evening prior. Um, and then touching base, getting an idea of our priorities for that morning or for that day. Every morning, I join the service desk stand up meeting, which is the entire service desk. We Zoom every morning from 8:30 to 9, and we kind of go through again priorities and staffing and who is where and what's needed. And um, at that time is usually when, hey, we have this machine. I know it had a build issue or something like that. Can we prioritize this? We need to get this to the end user, or we received this order and the end user is supposed to start Monday morning and it is now Friday morning. Maybe the delay was we didn't receive the position eligibility information in time, or perhaps sometimes I feel like those start dates sneak up really fast um, for even the IT support who's submitting the order. So, again, just touching base and going through all of those cases and requests and making sure that we know what is absolutely crucial that we tie up that day and who's going to contact the person or end user or IT support, who's responsible for what, and that sort of thing. Um, that was really long-winded, guys. I'm so sorry.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
that's great.
Okay, good.
No, it's a
Yeah.
Maybe
great program. There's a lot to it. No, this is all wonderful, Jen. Thank you.
okay, good. So then, after the stand up, it's typically it depends on the day. I mean, I different meetings, different initiatives or projects. I work very closely with our strategic partners, managing inventory. Again, there are 25 CWP business units, and based on the contact list that I have for everyone that I communicate with on a regular basis, not including our external partners, that contact list is about 65.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, yes. So that is why if I don't respond right away, I might just be tied up with someone else, but I do always see it, and I promise I will get back to you, or I will have someone from the team reach back out as well. Um,
I mean, so
but yeah,
you've
touching
mentioned a lot of stakeholders already, but I know you've got several more even. I believe you're working with procurements, you're working directly with the vendors, endpoint
yes.
engineering,
Yep.
our friends over there, our friends in InfoSec, and then you're working
Mhm.
with, like you said, the 25 CWP, the departmental IT teams, and everything else.
Yes.
How do you maintain all those relationships? How do you manage those relationships with everybody? It seems like that's a really complex little net of
It
folks,
is, it really is, and that number, that 65, that doesn't include, like, the EEs or InfoSec or procurement.
right?
So, yes, a lot of them have my direct phone number, but it's how do I manage all of that? I mean, I genuinely enjoy what I do at the university, and I love everyone that I work with. So I think it's just building that personal relationship with them, and then, I would walk through fire for my team,
Aw.
and I think that anyone that I work with is considered my team. We all have to work very closely together. I know some people may be like, "What?" hearing me say that. That's okay. That's just how I am. But, yeah, I mean, there are times I'll go a few weeks without speaking to someone directly, but it's very important to me if someone reaches out and has a need that I am able to connect with them and, give them a response or resolution as soon as possible. So, I know there's everyone is so patient with that, and I just really do appreciate that. And I know even if there's ever a time where you just need a conversation, like just throw a Zoom meeting on my calendar. That's honestly such a great way. And then it gives me an opportunity too to just connect with you one on one and give you the undivided attention that you may need. So, and I really do value that. Everything in tech is moving so rapidly, and we really want to move left, so to speak, and continue to provide self-service options and streamline things. I mean, that's imperative to the function of any program, but we still have this piece in the background that's that connection, that like one-on-one communication and relationship building and all, and I value that, and that's something I don't want to lose sight of. So,
Yeah. So with all of these relationships and with all these duties and typical day you were describing, if someone shadowed you for a day, what would they be most surprised about?
probably the amount of people that I speak with on a regular basis every day, or how many different types of, I don't want to call them situations, but requests that I work through, or different facets of the actual program that I'm working through, it's not just orders and approvals and things like that. Uh, it's a lot of, the program management and, information security issue or an approval for a custom machine or the funding piece of this or that or someone wanting to purchase some of our inventory for non-CWP and projections for how much inventory we should have, or someone who is going to need help with CWP installs because one of their IT support representatives got a promotion and now they're single threaded there. And so, collaboratively working with the service desk to kind of help resolve that too.
So hold on, you just mentioned like inventory management too, and I think it'd be really easy for us to gloss over that. But I mean, you're dealing with two primary manufacturers when you're talking about Dell and Apple, and I know other machines slip through your fingers too. But I mean, both of those companies are putting out new equipment all the time, and I'm sure that would affect. I know that I see updated models come through and et cetera, but I would think that inventory management would be really hard, especially as you're coming up to a model change. But we have model changes, but we also have like academic year schedules we have to pay
Yeah.
attention to, and new faculty. And
Yeah.
can you
Yeah.
talk about that for a minute? That seems like a part
Yeah.
of the job I definitely would
It
not want to
is.
do.
No, yeah, it definitely is. We are working towards a lot. I'm sure everybody knows because I've been on this like campaign trail for getting your assets updated and ServiceNow being the source of truth and putting all the information that we can into ServiceNow for better tracking purposes. Warrant, like so we know when the warranty is done, when the person's eligible for a refresh, and um, basically we're not chasing around this information so that we have accurate data reporting. With that being said, yes, the models typically change every year in the spring, or so I've noticed, with the exception of like when Apple pushed out the M4s. I think it was the MacBook Pros. One of them, it was like in October, which was interesting. And of course, Apple doesn't give us any advance notice. So we wait for the big Apple event and we listen to everything that they're promoting and these upcoming changes. And then they're typically available right away. So then there's all the back end of everything. So obtaining a test machine and providing that to the endpoint engineers to ensure that um, our image will integrate with the new model. Um, if there are any other issues or things that need to be, worked through that they need to work through before we can roll it out to campus. And then, yes, obtaining the inventory in bulk quantities and then updating everything within ServiceNow to ensure that it doesn't disrupt IT support process, by submitting orders or different things like that, and then making sure all the information's updated on the punch out and that we're still in line with our pricing, which there's been, for example, with the Dell, they went through a rebrand this year, which was, of course, impeccable timing, as always, because we just switched to Dell as our strategic partner. Um, and with that, we had to ensure that the models that they were proposing to replace our existing latitudes would obtain, or maintain price parity because we well, basically, I've made that pretty clear. Like, we can't go over 1100 for our standard machines. That's very important to the university and to me that we're able to provide a fully funded machine um,
Mhm.
for areas across campus. So, yeah, there's a lot of all of that. And then with the add-on service that ServiceNow offers called Ham Pro that the university has had for a while, we are working to configure Ham Pro, and the advancements that are going to come with that are going to be amazing in managing assets and keeping track of everything from um, what are we calling it? Cradle to grave, literally the entire life cycle of the machine. So that's super exciting. But it will be a process to get everything updated um, and working efficiently.
And Ham Pro, just for folks that may not know, that's hardware asset
Hardware
manager?
asset.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, thank you. I forget. Not everybody
No, no, that's
uses
alright.
that acronym.
And so, how does CDW fit into this mix? I know on the one hand, they're a partner, and so I mean they're important for inventory control and ordering and stuff like that. But I also know that we've worked with them for some of our services, and we push some stuff that way. We've pulled it back, but I think we're going to push it again. But can you talk to us about that relationship with CDW and where we are and
Yeah,
where we're going?
absolutely. So we recently underwent a technology RFP. We had been working with CDW prior to that technology RFP, working to outsource our imaging to, free up our techs in-house so that they can focus on other needs, again, enhancing the um, end user experience. With the RFP, we allowed our bidders to provide a proposal collaboratively. Um, so we had Gov Connection and Lenovo, and then we had Dell and CDW, and just based on those proposals and what they can offer, they felt the reason they came to us as a partnership is because they felt like either one of them couldn't provide Notre Dame everything that they needed on their own, but collaboratively, they were able to fulfill our needs. And then based on what they proposed and the pricing and their commitment to services, that is why we ended up working with Dell and CDW. And it is a new relationship. Um, I should say it's a new contractual relationship. So we're still working through things. There's been some bumps in the road, which you will have in any type of business relationship. But ultimately, Dell's providing the equipment for our primary model of for campus, and then CDW is carrying that inventory in stock for us without us we are not required to purchase that inventory that they're holding for us. But then they also provide um, Apple products. They have really been, I think, attentive to our needs and willing to get us whatever we need if it's not something that they regularly carry. And then additionally, obviously, they have peripherals and things of that nature. The whole point of this RFP and streamlining route to market for campus is so that we can ensure that all of the PCs coming on site have, well, we're aware of them and we know who's connecting to our network. And again, that's for security purposes. I don't know if I should say this part, but we don't want to end up like the University of Michigan in the headlines for hackers and things of that nature. And if we don't know what machines are connecting to our network, we are not able to ensure that everyone is safe and that information is safe. And so we've created this process, the single route, route to market, and a process for exceptions. And there's a bunch of KB articles and things on all of this, but it's been a very strategic plan that we have worked collaboratively on, but just to ensure, I like to phrase it this way, that there is no leak or hole in the air mattress because that's all it takes. So if someone just, goes to Best Buy and purchases a machine and comes and connects to a network and they're accessing, you know, private data, we're seeing a lot of deans that have been targeted for phishing and things of that nature. We want to eliminate that, and this is a way to help that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of like Best Buy, what is the weirdest or most surprising request that you've ever had from somebody who's eligible for CWP?
Um, we get some really interesting ones. Um, I mean, we've had requests for like refurb machines being purchased off Amazon. We've had requests for, I feel bad because someone, if they hear this, they're gonna know I'm talking about them. But a gaming PC from Costco, a consumer model. Yes, it's cheaper. I understand that, but there are a lot of other aspects to consider when, shopping, and typically consumer grade models are not the best option to go.
Yeah, totally. So then what is one step in the CWP life cycle that causes the most confusion or friction? And what would you do to fix it if you could?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier regarding CWP eligibility, um, there is a process for new hires. And I think our onboarding process is something that we could work to improve if at all possible. I think that the way that we obtain the information for a new hire is delayed. So, as we are trying to prepare a machine for someone, and yet we don't have a net ID for them, or we're unable to look up anything related to the position number through Tableau, it delays us in processing the order for the
Yeah,
computer. And then the end user may not have the machine on their first day. Granted, we can provide a loaner, but again, if we're looking at this whole overall experience, especially when you're being onboarded at the University of Notre Dame, that's not something that you want to come across as chaotic or unorganized.
sure. Yeah.
Right. No. Yeah, I mean, if that's their first impression,
Yes.
what are we yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
And
like the source of all your work is your
I know.
computer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so also, it's not like I mean, we can explain to them, like, what has transpired or, like, why this is the way it is, but again, being Notre Dame, we should be able to come up with a solution, um, for this type of thing, and I know people will say, "Well, that's not very often,
mhm.
that we're onboarding," but you know what? For the amount of them that we see every week, I know even, like, my team leads get really frustrated because the information is just not there, and, I do
Mm.
have a contact in HR who has been amazing. Shout out to Steve Cohen. Um, I can typically reach out to him with a name or a position number, and he'll give me the inside scoop pretty quickly. But that's also not fair to him because he has his own responsibilities, and I don't expect him to always drop everything
Sure.
and check those records for me. But he
Yeah.
has, and that's been amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
he's a friend of the podcast for sure.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome. He's a part of our, CWP steering committee. Um, so he's very important to, all things related to CWP and HR.
Yeah. So, can you share a time when feedback or resistance from a department led to a change or a new evolution in the CWP policy or approach? Any big disruptors?
Yeah, I'm sure that there are plenty, but the one that sticks out the most is, we were working towards, having everybody follow a standardized naming convention for their machines. Um, And this was to enable imaging at CDW, among many other things like the 15, um, it's 15 character limit for a naming convention. And sometimes it goes beyond that depending on the end user's user ID. And if the CWP unit is wanting to include the serial number within that naming convention, um, so we were just really looking to get everyone on this standardized, naming convention to streamline things. We know what the computer name should be for everyone. And we did receive a lot of kickback or pushback on that because that would change how they were handling their internal process within their area. So, with that being said, by receiving that feedback, we kind of took a step back, and I'm like, "Okay, well, we're not gonna just make you change everything right now. Like, let's get a better understanding of how these areas are conducting their business with CWP, how they're handling their assets, and how they're re-imaging when it moves from one user to another user." So I think it helped me realize that we need to pump the brakes and I needed to spend time one on one with different areas to get a more in depth understanding of how they were handling things. Not everybody utilizes ServiceNow for their endpoint assets, so that's also one of the caveats and things that we're learning. And is there a different way? You know, it's change management and communication, and maybe they were creating more work for themselves and they didn't realize, or maybe they were doing things in a specific way that, hey, like we could take a note from the CWP and service desk team and how we're handling communications and installs and things of that nature. So, yeah, just that one small um, y- standardized naming convention helped me to reassess and really just look at like the entire program overall and the different areas. So I think it's huge, actually.
No, that's great. So,
Yeah.
what is the moonshot vision for the CWP like 5 years from now?
Oh my goodness. So much can change in especially with tech. So ultimately, and I'm gonna say this, and it's like half of our business units, CWP business units, are gonna be like, "Heck yeah," and then the other half are gonna be like, "No, no, no." So, I'm saying this with what I know some of the leadership and university goals are, and I think that there are different ways to reach those goals and accommodate for what works best. So, with that being said, we would love to have the endpoint machines, you know, be ordered and then land like imaged and prepared and then land directly in front of the end user, and that they are able to log in and do their quote unquote install themselves, have access to software center, download any additional programs that they may need for their role, um, utilize, direct shipping from CDW, provide, fun branded kitting that goes along with their computer, especially if they're a new hire at Notre Dame. Maybe there's some cool swag in there or something for them. Um, I
Mhm.
think that's, I mean, yeah, that's the end goal. But we do realize that we have users that are not very, tech savvy, and that may not be an option for everyone. Um, and so we're looking at different ways to address that. And then we also, again, don't want to lose that personal relationship um, for IT support within a specific area and their end users. We don't want to have that disconnection. So, again, we're back to that fine dance and we're looking at all these options. Maybe there's a couple different routes we go. More to come on that. There's a lot of considerations to be had. And that's, again, I think a long ways from now, to have that perfected. But this is where I say, like, I welcome feedback and I genuinely want to work with every area to ensure that we're providing the best option for them and what they need. And let's like come up with solutions together. I don't want to put, I think I said this before, a square in a circle hole. Like, it's not going to work that way. But in the same aspect, like, their feedback is also beneficial to us, so let's work together, maybe they can help us, we can help them, and make it overall a better program for everyone and not such a pain in the butt.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, and Jen, I know part of your longer term plan for seeing this some expansions to the vision and stuff is going to be aided by this newly formed CWP steering committee. Full disclosure to our fans, I'm on that committee, so I know a little bit more than I'm supposed to. Um, but you also mentioned Steve Cohen from HR is there, and you've got a lot of other some very high powered folks from not just OIT but also finance and some other areas of the university. So we're really taking a very holistic look at I say the CWP program, and I know that's redundant, the Campus Workstation Program, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
So, so talk to us a little bit about the impetus for forming that steering committee, and how's that going to affect not just you, but how's that going to affect the client experience? What are some of the questions that committee's tackling?
Yeah, definitely. So this is something that we've had in the works, so thank you again for, joining that committee and being open to
My
participating.
pleasure.
Yes, it's a lot of fun with that group. But yes, we've got some key players in there, and that was the whole point and plan. And the reason being is, I hear everyone's feedback. I hear frustrations about, again, eligibility, or why are they not eligible for a machine when they need one? Or, prior to, I built out a Tableau report that allowed us to access all data for a role, not just yes or no, they're eligible or not. By doing that, it showed us that there were some people who received CWP machines who were technically not eligible to. So then when they submitted for a refresh, it was denied and they didn't understand why. So then working collaboratively, on how we can rectify those situations, and maybe those positions technically should be eligible. And who am I for the entire university to really gauge that for everyone? Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be me. It
Wait,
should
you're
be
the senior CWP specialist. That's the
you get a laptop. You
we
get a
we
laptop.
wield it like a club.
Yeah, right. No, it's a bigger, I don't wanna
Yes.
say issue, but it's just the way that the program has unfolded and how it has, I mean, again, it's a 30-year-old program at this point. Who is responsible for making these changes, and what do they look like, and what does it impact? So again, adding another group of eligible, participants, if you will, would really have implications to our overall budget. And then is that something that we can increase, or is that going to reduce the allocation per user, which I really don't well, I want to increase the allocation per user because again, we're seeing that as well with the types of machines that our faculty and staff need in order to perform their job well. Um, that's also increasing. So it's just looking at all of these things. That's what the committee is for, able to figure out solutions, determine how we should move forward, ensure that it's something that works for many different walks of campus, if you will, um, and that we have a solid support system that, is endorsing the decisions that are being made. And I think that's the biggest piece of all of it.
Yeah.
It's just to improve the program overall and to hopefully, we'll see forward motion and improvements as time goes by. We do have a list of, top priority items that we're looking at, and there will be more to come on that.
Yeah, so you mentioned feedback. How can campus staff provide feedback or get involved in helping to shape the future of the program? What are some of the best avenues for feedback?
Yeah. So like I had mentioned, I do keep open communication with everyone, it feels like. So I'd say just reaching out to me directly, whether that be via email or Google Chat, or again, just throw a Zoom meeting on my schedule. I'm happy to hear any feedback or to work collaboratively, or, problem resolution, or you just need another set of eyes on something you're trying to figure out, like within ServiceNow and managing the refreshes, whether it's creating like a visual task board or your own dashboard for your own area. I'm open to all of that. That's why that's why I'm here to help. That's why we've collaborated with the service desk team so that I am not, so far down in the weeds with the day-to-day tasks, and I'm able to help with the more strategic view of things. So just reach out directly.
Excellent. So I just have one more quick question for you. I know that here we are. It's 2025. We're about 4 years past COVID, and we know we have a 4-year cycle for these computers, and we know that COVID botched a lot of things for us. How many computers are you expecting to refresh from CWP inventory next year? I'm assuming it's a big year.
It's the biggest year that we've had so far. I'm looking at about 1,800 refreshes.
1,800.
Yes, and that's about 5 to 700, probably more than an average year. let alone this past year where that was our lowest year, because we were on a hiring free or hiring freeze too, but a purchasing freeze 4 years ago. Um, so yes, it's going to be very busy. Um, that is also part of the strategic vision of merging the teams and collaborating with service desk and making sure that we're able to provide the service that all of our partners need, get our end users the machines, and then eventually, shifting um, imaging back to CDW just to help with this process and the workload that we're expecting.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right. So it's time for Consultant Quirks, where we ask Jennifer a few rapid fire, fun questions.
Are these fun questions,
I
Krista?
was gonna
I mean,
say
they
that.
might be fun. You know,
they
we'll
fun?
see. We'll see how fun. Okay. Fun question number 1. If you could have dinner with any person, real or fictional, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Hmm. Okay, so fun fact about me, I'm super interested in like quantum theory and quantum mechanics and spend a lot of my spare
Ooh,
time
yeah.
researching and reading and yeah.
Wow.
I know, I'm such a nerd, but, I would love to have dinner with Nikola Tesla, I think,
Yeah.
because of his views and insights and research and everything on quantum theory, and even how I mean, he was less focused in the quantum physics side of things, although now, looking at quantum physics and, like, his research, it's bridging a gap there. So, yeah, I would love to have
My
dinner
God.
with Nikola Tesla.
My God, I'm feeling so like nothing right now. I'm looking at what's on my bedside table, and it's not quantum mechanics. I can tell you that.
I
Wow.
know. I usually lose
Setting
people when I talk
setting the
about
bar high for the rest of us.
No,
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 that's
it's okay.
awesome. Have you made some researcher friends?
It's just fun. Like, I don't it's so lame. Yeah, I
That's
if
awesome.
anyone is interested in that and spends time in that area, in their spare time, yeah, like, reach out. I'd love to have someone to talk to about that sort of thing.
Awesome. That's great. So then I don't know how this question's going to shake out, but what book would you recommend everyone read and why?
Okay, so I'm actually gonna go in a different direction with this.
Okay.
Um I actually think the 5 love languages is super
Oh,
important, and I think it's important not even just from, like, a relationship standpoint. I think, like, even in our role, like, our job,
Yeah.
everybody communicates differently, everyone receives feedback differently, everyone, receives like their praise and everything differently as
Right.
well. Some people hate it. They don't want verbal praise. I just think it's relevant
Yep.
and I think everyone would benefit from it as long as you read it with an open mind and understand that it's like not specifically directed towards just your relationship,
Sure.
but all
Yeah.
relationships. Yeah.
We actually did a 5 love languages quiz at our department retreat yesterday, and we scratched out love and put appreciation because
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
that
it's
Yeah.
works.
yeah, like the work version.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
yeah.
was I was kind of laughing. I can't take things seriously most of the time, right? So, like I'm reading the questions, and it's in you basically if you answer mostly A's, then you're this, B's this, and so the way that they had the questions phrased would be like if one of your coworkers is overwhelmed and dealing with a heavy workload, would you do A, say something nice about them, B, help them with some of their work, C, give them a squeeze on the shoulder in an appropriate way, D, what was D? It was like give them a high five. No, that would have been. But I was just reading these and I was like, if I was overwhelmed and my coworker came by and was like, "Hey, hang in there," I'd be
High
like,
five.
"What?
Gave
Can
you a
you help,
squeeze on
please?"
You got this, Krista.
Yeah.
Here's a high five. You're
Words of
real.
affirmation, like tell, encourage them. It's like I would be so mad.
Yeah.
Someone came up
Yeah.
on me and was like, "Here's a gift. Enjoy your work." It's like, thanks for the
Okay,
present.
so
Go away
notes
so I
taken
can
for
finish the work
Krista.
I'm buried under.
Notated.
Oh, okay.
Krista, it's her love language is not like words of affirmation.
It definitely ended up being acts of service, and I think that's because
Yeah, makes
in a
sense.
work environment, it's like, yeah, because give me my time back.
Right. Yeah, definitely. See, it's relevant.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. If you weren't in IT, what job would you have?
Okay, so I previously mentioned some like working in the health and wellness industry as I used to prior to working at Notre Dame. But I am just super intrigued by the mind. And so something in neuroscience or psychology, um, I spend a lot of time, I guess, like reading about that kind of stuff too. I have, yeah. Mhm. Quantum theory. Yes. Yeah. It's all connected, actually. I can map it out for you if you'd like. But yeah, that's just some of my interests, in my pastime. But when you think about, your communication with literally everyone and their perspective on even what you're saying, the way you're saying it and intending it to be meant is not the way they're going to receive it. And
Mm.
that's not based on you, that's based on them and their own experiences, and traumas and things from, when they were younger. So, yeah, I think that along with quantum and then, being open-minded, like with yoga and yeah, meditation. I don't know, it's all connected. So,
I'll,
mental wellness.
I'll buy that. I just like to point that out for our listeners. It's quite a broad base. That's awesome.
It is. It sure is. Thanks, COVID. I had a lot of time on my hands at that point to research and deep dive into things, but yeah.
Well, Jennifer, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for taking some time with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you inviting me here.
All right. Is everybody ready for our new segment of Did You Know Tech Edition?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm never ready.
Yeah, you guys did pretty well last time, but basically,
They just
this is a surprising tech facts and handy shortcuts you may have never known you needed. But the twist is, this isn't just for our listeners. I'm quizzing you guys, the hosts, and our guests, and we will be keeping score. So we will find out who is truly tech savvy and who might need a little bit of extra screen time.
Properly.
I don't think my mic is working right now.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. All right, remember, this is going to be a multiple choice question. I will give you about 10 seconds to come up with your answers, and then we'll go around. It's based on the honor system, so please don't change your answer just because you think that Jen, touting all her quantum mechanics, will be correct on this.
I think she has some kind of unfair advantage on us. I mean,
I don't know.
She probably does. We'll find out. All right. Seeing how we talked a lot about computers, we're going to dive into a piece of technology that's in computers that we all use every single day, and that is Wi-Fi. So the question is, what does Wi-Fi actually stand for? Is it A, wireless fidelity, B, wireless frequency, or C, it doesn't stand for anything?
I think it's wireless fidelity.
So Jen's going A.
I'm going to go the chaotic route and say C.
Scooter's going C.
I like the answer of A, but I'll go with C.
And Krista?
Wireless Fi. Just for the heck of it, I'll just pick B.
All right, so
Somebody's going to win.
Yeah, we have a winner and we have two losers. The answer is C. It doesn't stand for anything. It was a marketing term.
Was it? Oh my gosh.
Chaos reigns.
Hilarious. A method for the madness, perhaps?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Great question, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's wrap it up. Wrapping up the show. Time to wrap up. If you've got someone you'd like us to interview, just email those ideas to btspodcast@nd.edu. And if there's anything else new, exciting, frustrating, or inspiring happening in your IT consultancy world, please share that with us too. We'd love to hear your insights and your ideas.
Next time on our season finale, we'll speak with Jane Livingston, Vice President and CIO, Office of the Chief Information Officer. Until then, thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Signing off from behind the screens, IT at ND.
Stay tech savvy, Notre Dame. I'm so sorry. I plugged in a monitor because I thought that maybe that was the problem. And so I had unplugged it earlier, and so I just plugged it back in, and right when it became my part, the screen tried to switch over and stayed black for like 30 seconds.
I think we've got our outtakes already. We get them done right away.
I'm a mess today. Okay. Take 2.
But you know what's going to happen, Krista? If this keeps happening, we're just going to have to take you off the air.
I'm going to get fired.
Oh, wait. All right. You ready? Take 2.
Yeah.